for the beard. You get a lot of beard love. And what's so crazy, they talk about the barber shop, you want to cut it. Not want to, but I was like, hey, I'm not gonna cut it off, trim it down low. They're not gonna bother. Like, man, keep it, keep it. They raised a lot of me up, and then everywhere I go, I'm getting compliments. And it's so crazy. My dad told me the other day, he said, boy, you look just like me when I was in my 30s. Because I grew up with my dad with a beard. All I knew was with a beard. From the time I was born to about 10 years ago, that's when he started. He had the beard all that time. And that's why I love to get a goatee, but now, you know, I like it. And my hers like it.
What's up? What's happening? Welcome back. Season 2, episode 1, live and direct. It's the pastor.
And the Professor G. Joyner. Let's rock and roll.
Ain't nothing changed. It is just, as always, about to be some real talk, some real action. It's going to be real righteous.
Righteous talk for real people. Let's get it.
Look, ain't nothing changed. We are glad to be back and live and direct, representing from the Lemoyne-Owen College, broadcasting
live from New South Memphis,
New South Memphis. That's what it said if you pull it up on the
old school Wikipedia. We old school in the
like
late 19th century. New South Memphis. Let's get it.
I think you slick trying to throw up the alpha sign.
You know, who knows what G. Jordan? Only the nosy knows what the nosy knows. So who knows what I'm up to?
Look, it's been a million and one things that have transpired since the last time we got together. Yeah. And so we want to definitely celebrate and lift up the inauguration of our beloved president, Barack Hussein Obama. And we are so excited about that. That next week,
notice how they didn't call him? They call it Barack H. Obama.
Yeah. We'll talk more about that.
Yeah.
Look, next week we're putting together a major panel.
Yeah.
So the pastor and the professor going to do a live and direct for the Lemoyne-Owen College homecoming. So we'll be recording. We'll have a bunch of important and influential scholars and artists and personnel that is going to be joining us. So y'all make sure that y'all tune in next week and check us out. But this week, there is no doubt what we got to talk about.
Django Unchained?
Did you just do some shucking and jiving?
Yes, I did. And I promised last
season
that I wouldn't do that. I apologize to all the fans of the Pastor and Professor.
Right. No, listen, if it's one thing that we can definitely share some light on from the pastor and the professor perspective, it is all of the buzz around this controversial, what I've articulated to be a well-written, well-produced, intense motion picture, Django Unchained.
Yep.
So two of the things that we'll talk about today in light of Django is a wonderful article written by the professor that you have got to check out, and also a sermon series that I have been embarking upon. So let's just jump right into it, man. What you think about the movie?
I'm going to say, once again, rainbowsandlilacs.blogspot.com is where you can get the article, That Damn Django, which is the topic of our show today. And, of course, if you go on our Facebook page, The Pastor and the Professor, or go to Earl J. Fisher or G Joyner, we will have, or you can actually inbox us to try to get access to the Django Unchained lecture series, sermonic series. He's gotten 2 parts up so far. The third part is this week?
Yeah.
So you can come in there and you can inbox either one of us. Is Earl J. Fisher, G. Joyner, or the Pastor and Professor to get the sermonic series, and you can learn how to purchase it. And I think you got a sale on it, right?
Yeah, well, it's selling. I'm trying not to put a sale on it.
And you know what? One thing I'm going to say this, because I've seen a lot of people in cyberspace, and I've watched interviews of these different black scholars, white pundits, white scholars, or what have you. The purchase of the Django series is going right back into the Whitehaven community of Memphis, Tennessee. This is not something so the pastor can have rings and things. It's something
I got my own ring. It's a wedding ring.
And that's about that on that.
Yeah, I'm good.
So it's going back to the community, and we'll talk about ABC Ministries or what have you, that he's a pastor of, and that I'm a follower of, and part of the flock. But about the movie.
Yeah.
Wow, it's been a lot of talked about the movie, and I will go ahead and start with the Spike Lee versus Tarantino debate, because that's where the introduction as far as the premise of my article came from. And we talked about this before the show. It's dealing with black art. What is black art? And it's ironic to me, and in literature we call this situational irony, that
Steven Spielberg does an adaptation of a black literary work by Alice Walker, and it's hailed as one of the greatest black movies of all time, at least in pop culture. And I'm sure cinematic critics and scholars will say, "Oh no, it's not this, that, and the other," but they know the masses, people that are not within these different disciplines or what have you, that they would say Color Purple is one of the greatest black movies of all time, allegedly black. Right. Spielberg means you are probably of the what?
European persuasion,
and more specific,
probably German persuasion.
German Jew.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this Jew director, Steven Spielberg, which I enjoy his movies, he gets lauded as having a great black work. Tarantino's work is panned by black critics as far as black scholars, quite a few of them, and particularly Spike Lee, which I gotta take my hats off to Spike Lee and Tarantino, but particularly Spike, because Spike, if you're listening, I always wanted you to do one of my movies, and then I also thought Tarantino could do a movie as well. But I will say this: Robert Townsend too. Shout out to all black filmmakers.
You ain't put Tyler Perry in there.
No, I didn't. But as far as that's concerned, Mario and Melvin Band People, shout out to y'all as well.
Right.
But TV,
somebody do Kim the Story of John.
That's what I'm telling you.
That's gonna redeem this brother.
But
right?
yeah, that'll make Tyler, you can holler at me for that. Yeah. But what Spike is doing, and not just Spike, and the legend that he is, they're starting to deem what is considered black art. And
who can and who cannot.
And not only that, but what does the white hand in black? If a white hand is involved in black art,
is it not black art anymore?
Yes, and myself as a literary scholar, and my concentration and my studies and my focus has always been on black art. From the Black Arts Movement, you go back to 1955 with not the Emmett Till, right? It's ironic that the Emmett Till got killed then, but Lorraine Hansberry's, I think it's the mid 55, 56. Lorraine Hansberry's A Raisin in the Sun. Some scholars say that's the beginning of the Black Arts Movement. But it goes all the way from there to the Dutchman, Amiri Baraka, shout out to him, legend, all the way through the 70s with the Black Power movement, as far as the artistic creations that were made with painters and writers and musicians, and even those pastors, preachers, and even the writers, and also those that even were just involved in the movement. You become art. But what is black art? Now, I've changed my whole idea of what black art is.
Because back in the day, you were serious. No white, no intermingling, no intermixing. Yeah. This whole notion.
Well, if you have a white hand in it, and this goes back to the Harlem Renaissance. I'm telling y'all what I'm about now. It goes back to the Harlem Renaissance. If you look at County Cullen, and particularly Langston Hughes, a lot of black artists in that time frame in the 20s and 30s in Harlem, particularly the 20s, they had white benefactors that told them, hey, can you tell me about how niggas act in the club in a story or a poem? And then you write it. And in essence, that's not black art, because somebody's given you the idea that you need to write about. And then you think about, well, what if the production, or who puts money into the movie? And some producers probably do tell you, well, let's cut this. I'm sure anybody puts money into a movie where it's $100 or $1 million. They're going to say, well, this could, how to edit. And if we go into that, there's not really been a lot of black, outside of, you can go with the Black Arts Movement or the Harlem Renaissance Movement, when you had these black publishing houses that were publishing stuff, right, on their own with no white money or no white hand involved. But for the most part, anything in mass media has had a white hand in it, whether it's a distributor, a producer, what have you, a director, a gaff, whoever.
When we look at hip-hop music, and the emergence of hip-hop music that has been deemed as
that's black art.
Right.
That's best. 21st century.
That has been deemed exactly that. If you look at how hip-hop got its emergence, if you will, it was through the hand of some white Jewish benefactors who was willing to play stuff on radio and media. MTV was showing stuff before there ever was a BET.
There you go.
So I always find this argument about the purity of black art or black anything to be a little bit repugnant, because it's a mythical sense of racial purity.
I've had a conversion like X to Mecca. Really. Tarantino, I thoroughly enjoyed his movies in general long before Django.
Inglourious Basterds.
Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown. I've always enjoyed his movies, right? Of course, the Kill Bill series, right? And he's nothing less of a genius. And people that are involved in cinema, you can not like the content, but you can't take away from the talent of it. Right. And above all things, I think he's a better writer than he is anything. His stories are great. I think what's happened with the black art, and with this Django movie. It's a very good piece, and I think it's a heroic piece. It's almost tragic, of course, because of the idea of slavery. And then you have this tragic being, which is a man that's lost his wife, and he goes and finds her, and in the end, he really redeems himself and slavery. Not just redeems himself, but redeems the institution of slavery, or those that are involved in the institution, by coming back and slaughtering anyone that was involved in it. Because guess what? Even when he shot Calvin Candy's sister, I was like, oh, he didn't have to do that. He could have let her go. No, he didn't. Because like Dr. King, you know this better than me. Like Dr. King says, something, a paraphrase for me, or you tell me what it is about being quiet. You're just as bad as the person that does it.
It's not the voice of the enemy.
Enemy, yes.
It's the silence of the people. It's the silence of the friend that seems to be.
If you ate a meal, if you benefacted in any way, if you ate a meal, if you wore clothes, if you laid on your white ass and didn't have to do nothing because of a slave, you still benefit from the institution and you're just as guilty. Say something about it. But we're coming up to the end of our first portion.
Look, this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be taking breaks to try to give space to those who want to promote and share their gifts and their arts and stuff like that. So give us about a hot 30 seconds, and we'll be back to you in just a second.
Go to Facebook. Let us know something.
Twitter, you know what time it is. Let's do it.